People often claim the media is biased just because they don't like or don't agree with what it's saying. So, is British media really biased against China? Well, actually, yes it is. There's academic research out there that demonstrates this. A policy paper came out by Tim Summers at the Chinese University of Hong Kong called "Shaping the Policy Debate: How does the British media present China?" I should declare here that this report is part of the Lao China Institute policy paper series, and I work at the Lao China Institute, but I wasn't involved in producing this report. The report is based on evidence gathered by a team of researchers who systematically examined content on China between 2020 and 2023 in these publications: The Telegraph, The Guardian, the BBC, the Financial Times, and The Economist. The findings show that, surprise, surprise, coverage of China was consistently mostly negative or neutral to negative. In fact, across all these publications, the research showed that around 2/3 or higher of the coverage is negative. This did depend to some extent on the publication. In The Guardian, which is politically the furthest to the left of these newspapers, the reporting did tend to be more nuanced and neutral than the others, but still it was rarely actually positive. Okay, you may be thinking that between 2020 and 2023 there was a lot of negative things to say about China, and these things should be reported. So what's the problem? But the report points to some quite concerning trends. It shows that in fact the public are being fed information which has a clear and consistent political slant to it. And this matters. For one thing, public understanding about China is influenced by the media. But on top of this, publications like The Economist and the Financial Times are widely read by people in policy circles. And this includes people who work in Parliament, civil servants, business people, policy researchers, and lobbyists. So these publications in particular are likely to have real influence on the thinking of policymakers, and therefore on actual policy making. So if the reporting on China is being consistently distorted, this matters. According to the report, there are 3 ways that this is happening. First, across all the publications, out of issues of politics, economics, society, and culture, political issues are reported in the most negative light, and also political issues are by far the most often reported on. To quote the report, one notable feature of this coverage is that politics and normative value judgments about political systems dominate over other areas: culture, economy, society, in both the topics chosen for reporting and in the way that reports on many issues are refracted through a political lens. Second, the report found that in the Financial Times in particular, Xinjiang and Hong Kong were used as bywords for authoritarianism and repression. In other words, repeatedly, these words come up to symbolise authoritarianism even in articles which otherwise have nothing to do with Xinjiang or Hong Kong. This is not to say that in-depth reporting of very serious issues relating to Xinjiang and Hong Kong is not needed. It certainly is, but that's not what's going on here. This is a trend of using these words to signal China bad, even when the topic of the article is completely different. In fact, something came up in the reporting which I've noticed myself so often when reading the Financial Times that I do want to mention it here. That is the constantly repeated comparisons between Mao and Xi Jinping, even when it seems bizarrely out of context. The line, "China's most powerful leader since Mao Zedong," is repeated in, if not all, then an awful lot of the articles where Xi Jinping's name is mentioned. It happens so often that it can't be coincidence. It must be an editorial decision. I don't exactly know why, but the way I interpret it is that it's a way of presenting China today as backward, communist, and different in a specifically negative way. In fact, I have so much to say on the endless comparisons that we see between Mao and see that I made a whole other video on it, and I'll post the link under this one in case you want to watch it later. Third, the policy paper also identified the consistently negative reporting on China in The Economist in relation to the COVID pandemic. But here's something that's quite revealing. When China was facing challenges with their COVID mitigation policies, there was lots of reporting on it. But when China was actually doing better than other countries at containing the spread of the virus, mysteriously there was much less reporting on this topic. And that seems strange. Surely a country doing well at preventing the spread of the virus would be something worth reporting on while the rest of us were going through lockdowns. But apparently The Economist didn't think so. So, British media, please do better on China. Thank you for watching.